Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
The elevator climbed 37 floors while I counted each second, knowing my life was about to change forever. My name is David Harlan, and I'm what you'd call a digital security specialist, the guy who keeps corporate secrets safe from hackers. Ironic, considering what I was about to discover about my own wife. The penthouse door opened with my keycard, same as always, but tonight felt different. Elena stood by our floor-to-ceiling windows, silhouetted against the San Francisco skyline, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Black, expensive, the kind that screams, power meeting. "You're back early," she said without turning around. Her reflection in the glass looked guilty. Flight got canceled. Weather. I dropped my bag and studied her. Going somewhere? Just dinner with Maxwell. Business. Maxwell Duval. Her CEO. The shark who'd been circling our marriage for months, though Elena thought I hadn't noticed. I'm observant by profession. You don't survive in cybersecurity without reading between the lines. On a Friday night, I kept my voice casual, almost amused. Must be some merger. She finally turned, and I caught something in her eyes. Not quite panic, but close. Don't be dramatic, David. It's just one night with my CEO. Just one night. The words hung in the air like a confession. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her cheeks flushed. I should go. Have fun, I said, settling into my leather chair. I'll probably just work on some security protocols. After she left, trailing expensive perfume and lies, I sat in the dark for exactly 10 minutes. Then I got to work. Elena thought she understood technology, but she was wrong. She used the same password for everything. Our anniversary date, which felt like another slap. Her phone backed up to our shared cloud account. Her credit card statements came to my email as secondary holder. Within an hour, I had everything. Text messages that made my stomach turn. Photos I wished I'd never seen. But worse than the affair was what I found buried in her calendar. Project Max, with detailed notes about leveraging their relationship for a promotion, stock options, and inside information on upcoming mergers. She wasn't just cheating. She was using the affair as a business strategy. I leaned back in my chair and laughed, a sound that would have worried Elena if she'd heard it. She'd always underestimated me, treated me like her personal IT support. The quiet husband who fixed her computer problems and stayed in the background at company parties. But Elena had made one crucial mistake. She'd forgotten that I didn't just understand security, I understood how to break it. My phone showed 2:47 a.m. when I finished downloading her entire digital life. Her real calendar, her offshore accounts, her communications with Maxwell about manipulating stock prices before merger announcements. Enough evidence to destroy both their careers and land them in federal prison. I set my alarm for 7. By then, I'd have her empire mapped out and my revenge plan in motion. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. But sometimes it's better served immediately while your target still thinks they're untouchable. Elena's office building gleamed like a steel monument to corporate greed. 60 floors of glass and ambition, where my wife spent her days climbing over anyone who got in her way. Today, she was about to learn what it felt like to fall. I'd spent the weekend preparing. 3 days of careful planning, reaching out to old contacts and setting up untraceable communication channels. My friend Jamie from my hacking days had been more than happy to help. He'd never liked Elena anyway. You sure about this, Dave? Jamie asked through our encrypted chat. Once we start, there's no going back. She made that choice for me, I typed back. Execute Phase 1. Phase 1 was beautiful in its simplicity. Elena and Maxwell were planning to announce a merger with Pinnacle Industries on Tuesday. The deal would make them both rich and powerful. But mergers require secrecy, and secrets are fragile things. I'd spent Sunday crafting the perfect email, using Elena's own words from her private communications. Every detail about the merger, the stock manipulation, the insider trading, all of it leaked to Richard Crane, CEO of Meridian Corp, Pinnacle's biggest rival. By 8 a.m. Monday, Crane's lawyers were filing injunctions. By 9 a.m., the SEC was asking questions. By 10 a.m., Maxwell was screaming at Elena in his corner office. I know because I was listening. Elena had always been careless with technology. Her laptop connected automatically to the building's Wi-Fi, and that laptop had a microphone. A microphone I'd learned to access months ago when she'd asked me to fix some audio issues with her video calls. How did this happen? Maxwell's voice crackled through my earpiece as I sat in the coffee shop across the street. Who leaked this information? I don't know. Elena sounded panicked. The only people who knew were you, me, and Andre from legal. Well, someone talked. And when I find out who, they're finished in this industry. Poor Maxwell. He had no idea he was already finished. At 11:30, I watched Elena storm out of the building. She climbed into her BMW, probably heading home to figure out damage control. But I wasn't ready for her yet. First, I had a message to deliver. The parking garage beneath Elena's building was perfect for what I needed. Concrete walls, security cameras I'd already looped, and only one exit. Maxwell's silver Porsche sat in his reserved spot, like a symbol of everything wrong with the world. I didn't have to wait long. He appeared at 12:15, tie loosened, looking like a man whose empire was crumbling, which it was. Maxwell, I called out as he approached his car. He spun around, eyes wide. David, what are you doing here? Thought we should have a conversation. I stepped out of the shadows, hands in my pockets, casual as Sunday morning. About mergers. His face went pale. I don't know what Elena told you, but she didn't tell me anything. I smiled, and something in that smile made him take a step back. I figured it out myself. Amazing what you can learn when you know where to look. Maxwell tried to puff up, play the powerful CEO card. Look, if this is about Elena and me, that's between adults. You don't understand the pressure of our business. I understand perfectly. I moved closer, and he backed against his car. You thought you could take my wife, steal inside information, and manipulate the market, all while treating me like some pathetic husband who'd never fight back. David, you need to calm down. His phone was in his hand, probably ready to call security. I reached out faster than he expected and knocked it from his grip. The device hit the concrete with a satisfying crack. Careful, Maxwell. Not every asset is as safe as you think. I leaned in close enough to smell his expensive cologne mixed with fear sweat. The merger's finished. The SEC investigation will take months. And every day more evidence will surface. Evidence that leads back to you and Elena. You can't prove anything, he whispered, but his voice shook. Can't I? I pulled out my phone and played a recording, his own voice discussing stock manipulation with Elena. Technology is wonderful, isn't it? I stepped back and straightened my jacket. Have a good day, Maxwell. What's left of it? As I walked away, I heard him scrambling for his broken phone, probably trying to call Elena. Let him. They'd need each other for what was coming next. My phone buzzed with a message from Jamie. Phase 2 ready when you are. I smiled and typed back, execute. By evening, every gossip blog in Silicon Valley would have Elena's Project Max files. Her own words, describing how she planned to use their affair for career advancement, complete with explicit details about manipulating him and their company. Elena thought she was playing chess, while everyone else played checkers. She was about to learn that I'd been playing an entirely different game. Elena's fury was magnificent to behold. She stormed into our penthouse like a hurricane in designer heels, her face flushed with rage and humiliation. The gossip blogs had done their work. By 6 p.m., half of San Francisco's financial district knew about Project Max and Elena's calculated seduction strategy. You smug piece of garbage, she snarled, throwing her purse across the room. You think you're so clever? I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been monitoring the online reaction to her public humiliation. The comments were brutal. Elena's reputation as a serious executive was evaporating in real time. I think I'm learning, I said mildly. You're an excellent teacher. This isn't over. Her voice carried that dangerous edge I'd learned to recognize over 8 years of marriage. You want to play dirty? Fine. Let's see how you like it. She was as good as her word. By Thursday morning, My own private information was splashed across the internet. My therapy sessions after my father's passing, where I discussed feeling inadequate compared to Elena's success. My college transcripts showing mediocre grades. Even my medical records, including a prescription for anxiety medication I'd needed during a particularly stressful project. It was petty, vindictive, and completely ineffective. If anything, the leaked information made me look sympathetic. The struggling husband of a manipulative wife who documented her own infidelity like a business plan. But Elena's attack told me something important. She was desperate enough to break federal privacy laws. And desperate people make mistakes. I traced the leak back to Nicole Chen, Elena's best friend and head of HR at her company. Nicole had access to employee assistance program records, which explained how she'd gotten my therapy notes. She'd probably thought she was helping Elena, but she'd actually handed me another weapon. Jamie, I said into my encrypted phone, I need everything you can find on Nicole Chen. Financial records, social media, email accounts, the works. On it. But Dave, Elena's not going down without a fight. You sure you want to escalate this? I thought about Elena's smug expression as she'd destroyed my privacy, her complete lack of remorse for the affair, her casual dismissal of our marriage as just another business transaction. Escalate it, I said. Nicole's secrets were deliciously sordid. She'd been embezzling from the company's training budget for 2 years, skimming small amounts from multiple accounts to fund her gambling addiction. She'd also been feeding information to Elena's rivals, playing all sides while pretending loyalty. But the real prize was her personal email account, where she'd been conducting her own affair with Andrei Kowalski, Elena's married legal counsel, the same Andrei who'd been helping Elena cover her tracks. I had Nicole meet me at Vertigo, the rooftop bar where San Francisco's financial elite went to see and be seen. She arrived looking nervous, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. David, I want you to know I didn't want to release that information about you. Elena insisted, I know exactly who you are, Nicole. I slid a tablet across the table. On the screen were bank records showing her embezzlement, photos of her entering Andrei's apartment, and email chains discussing Elena's business strategies. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Her face went white as she scrolled through the evidence. How did you? I'm very good at my job. Unlike you, I don't leave digital fingerprints. I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the view of the city lights and Nicole's growing panic. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Elena that you can't help her anymore. You're going to stop feeding information to her rivals. And you're going to give me everything Andrei has been hiding. I can't. Elena will destroy me. Elena's going to destroy you anyway. She destroys everyone eventually. It's her nature. But I'm offering you a chance to survive the collapse. Nicole's hands shook as she set down the tablet. What do you want? Andrei's blackmail files. The dirt he keeps on Elena's rivals and allies. I know he has them. Lawyers like him always do. She nodded slowly. He keeps everything on a private server. But David, if Elena finds out I helped you, she won't. Because you're going to be very careful and very smart and very quiet. I stood up and dropped a 50 on the table. You have 48 hours. After that, these files go public, and you can explain your gambling problem to the SEC. I left her sitting there, staring at the evidence of her own corruption. Another piece removed from Elena's board. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena. We need to talk. I smiled and typed back, I'm listening. But I wasn't just listening anymore. I was hunting. Elena's text led to a meeting I'd been expecting for days. She wanted to confront me in the underground parking garage of our building, probably thinking the concrete walls would muffle any screaming. She wasn't wrong, but she'd misunderstood who would be doing the screaming. I arrived first, positioning myself near the security camera I'd already disabled. The garage felt like a tomb, all shadows and echoing footsteps. Perfect for what needed to happen. Elena appeared at exactly midnight, with Maxwell trailing behind her like a whipped dog. His expensive suit looked rumpled, his face haggard. The merger collapse had hit him hard. Stock prices falling, board members asking uncomfortable questions, federal investigators requesting documents. David, Elena's voice echoed off the concrete walls. This ends now. I agree, I said, stepping into the light. Question is, how does it end? Maxwell tried to look intimidating, puffing out his chest like some corporate peacock. You've caused enough damage. Elena's willing to forgive your little tantrum. But you need to stop this harassment campaign. I laughed, a sound that made both of them flinch. Harassment? I prefer to think of it as market correction. You're destroying innocent people, Elena said, but her voice lacked conviction. She knew exactly how innocent she wasn't. Like you destroyed me? Like you destroyed our marriage? I moved closer, and Maxwell stepped forward like he was going to protect her. You documented your own infidelity, Elena. You turned our relationship into a business strategy. I'm just helping you reap the profits. Maxwell swung at me then, a clumsy, desperate haymaker that telegraphed itself from miles.
She left this in your apron. You didn't even throw it away.
I forgot.
You forgot a woman's lipstick in your...
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Away. I sidestepped easily, letting his momentum carry him past me, then drove my knee into his solar plexus. He folded like a cheap suit, gasping and clutching his stomach. Stay down, Maxwell. This isn't your fight anymore. Elena had her phone out, probably trying to record something she could use against me later. But Jamie had been busy. A brilliant flash erupted from the garage's emergency lighting system, overloading her camera and leaving her blinking away after images. You two make a great team, I said, straightening my jacket. Too bad the merger's over. Elena helped Maxwell to his feet, both of them looking shaken. What do you want? She asked. Justice, consequences, the same things you'd want if someone had treated you the way you treated me. I pulled out my phone and showed them a video file. This is your conversation from last Tuesday, where you discussed manipulating Pinnacle's stock price. Tomorrow morning, it gets delivered to the SEC, along with all your financial records. You can't prove anything, Maxwell wheezed, still clutching his ribs. Can I? I pressed play, and their own voices filled the garage, discussing illegal trading strategies in loving detail. Technology is wonderful, Maxwell, especially when people think they're having private conversations. I walked toward the exit, then paused. Oh, and Elena, you might want to check your office voicemail. I left you a little present. What I'd left was their recorded phone conversation from the previous week, played through the building's PA system during peak business hours. Every employee, every executive, every visitor heard Elena and Maxwell's explicit discussion of their affair and their business crimes. By the time I reached our penthouse, my phone was buzzing with notifications. Social media was exploding with recordings of the broadcast. Elena's company stock was dropping in after-hours trading. Maxwell's board of directors had called an emergency meeting. But I wasn't finished, not even close. The next morning, I woke up to find Maxwell's silver Porsche decorated with spray paint. Someone had written homewrecker across the windshield in bright red letters. The security cameras had mysteriously malfunctioned during the incident, and no witnesses came forward. I left a note under his windshield wiper. Thanks for the merger. A concerned citizen, Elena called me screaming, You're insane. You can't keep doing this. I'm not doing anything, I said innocently, but it seems like the community is expressing their feelings about corporate corruption, democracy in action. The police will find no evidence connecting me to anything. Unlike you, I understand how to cover my tracks. I hung up and opened my laptop. Nicole had delivered Andre's blackmail files as promised. A treasure trove of corporate secrets, illegal deals, and personal scandals involving half of San Francisco's business elite. Elena's allies were about to discover that loyalty was a luxury they couldn't afford. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Impressive work, but you're not the only one who can play this game. E. I smiled and typed back, looking forward to it. Elena thought she could escalate this war. She had no idea that I'd already won it. Elena's counterattack came exactly as I'd predicted, through her remaining allies and what she thought were my vulnerabilities. She tried to freeze our joint accounts, filed harassment charges that wouldn't stick, and even attempted to have me fired for my consulting contracts. Every move was desperate, sloppy, and ultimately pointless. But her final gambit was the most revealing. She organized what she called a reconciliation party at Richard Crane's mansion, the same Richard Crane whose company had benefited from my leaked merger information. Elena thought she could use the party to publicly rehabilitate her image, while privately threatening me with social and professional destruction. She had no idea I'd been planning this moment for weeks. "Jamie," I said into my encrypted phone, "are you ready for the grand finale?" "Born ready. The mansion's security system is completely compromised. Every camera, every microphone, every display screen, I own them all. And the live stream? Set up and ready to broadcast to every major social media platform. Plus, a few financial news websites that are very interested in corporate corruption stories." I arrived at Crane's mansion fashionably late, wearing my best suit and a smile that made several guests unconsciously step away from me. The party was exactly what I'd expected. San Francisco's financial elite pretending to have fun while frantically networking and gossiping about Elena's recent troubles. Elena stood near the main staircase, looking stunning in a gold dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. Maxwell hovered nearby, trying to project confidence, while his eyes darted nervously around the room. They'd positioned themselves perfectly for what was about to happen. "David!" Elena's voice carried across the room with fake warmth. "I'm so glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. I love a good party. What Elena didn't know was that her reconciliation was about to become a confession. Andre's blackmail files had revealed something delicious. Elena and Maxwell had been planning to frame Richard Crane for their own insider trading, using falsified documents and manufactured evidence. They'd invited me here to witness their final betrayal, thinking I was beaten and harmless. Instead, they were about to confess everything to a live audience of millions. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard Crane's voice boomed through the mansion's sound system. "If I could have your attention, please." Except it wasn't Richard speaking. Jamie had hijacked the system, and the voice was a perfect digital recreation. Every guest turned toward the main display screens, which flickered to life, showing Elena and Maxwell in what appeared to be a private conversation. "The Crane setup is perfect," Elena's recorded voice said. "Once we plant the falsified trading records in his system, the SEC will focus on him instead of us." "And David?" Maxwell's voice asked. "David's not a problem anymore. After tonight, he'll be too humiliated to cause trouble." The room went completely silent except for the sound of Elena's sharp intake of breath. On screen, the conversation continued, revealing every detail of their plan to destroy Richard Crane, manipulate federal investigators, and use the party as cover for planting evidence. "This is impossible," Elena whispered, but her voice carried in the sudden quiet. "Congratulations, Elena," I said, raising my champagne glass. "You wanted it all. Now you get nothing." Maxwell lunged at me then, probably thinking he could stop the broadcast through violence. But I'd been expecting this moment for weeks. I caught his wrist, twisted sharply, and sent him sprawling across the marble floor. "The recording's already uploaded to 12 different servers," I announced to the room, along with financial records, email chains, and enough evidence to keep federal prosecutors busy for years. Elena tried to run, but the mansion's doors had mysteriously locked. Another gift from Jamie's hacking skills. She spun around, facing a room full of witnesses, cameras, and live stream viewers who were watching her empire collapse in real time. "You think you've won?" she snarled, dropping all pretense of composure. "I'll destroy you. I'll take everything you have." "You already tried," I said calmly. "But here's the thing about revenge, Elena. It works best when your target deserves it." I pulled out a tablet and showed her the screen. Her offshore accounts, the ones she'd thought were untouchable, were empty. Every penny had been transferred to a foundation supporting victims of corporate fraud, a foundation run by Richard Crane, with Nicole and Andre's enthusiastic cooperation. You see, your allies were only loyal until they weren't. And now, I own them all. Elena's scream of rage was cut off by the sound of sirens. Federal agents were arriving, armed with warrants and evidence that would put both her and Maxwell away for decades. I finished my champagne and set the glass on a nearby table. "Thank you all for coming. I think we can call this merger officially terminated." As I walked toward the exit, doors unlocking automatically as I approached, I could hear Elena still screaming behind me, but her voice was already fading, becoming just another unpleasant memory from a marriage that should have ended years ago. My phone buzzed with a message from Jamie. "Clean getaway. No digital fingerprints. You're officially a ghost. I smiled and typed back, perfect. Time to start over. The aftermath was everything I'd hoped for and more. Elena's arrest made national news. The corporate executive who documented her own crimes while planning to frame an innocent rival. Maxwell's company collapsed within a week, taking his personal fortune with it. Andre lost his law license and faced federal charges. Nicole's gambling debts became public record when she declared bankruptcy. But I wasn't finished yet. Elena made bail after 3 days, probably using the last of her accessible funds. She came straight to our penthouse, looking like a woman who'd aged years in less than a week. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her makeup smudged, her famous composure completely shattered. "David," she said as she walked through the door, "we need to talk." "I'm listening," I said, not looking up from my laptop where I was monitoring the continued fallout from her public destruction. "This has gone far enough. You've made your point." Now I did look up, studying her face for any sign of the woman I'd once loved. She looked desperate, broken, but not remorseful. Even now, she thought this was about making a point rather than facing consequences. "Have I?" I asked. "What point would that be?" "That you're not the weak husband I thought you were. That you can fight back." "Fine, you've proven it. Now let's figure out how to rebuild." I closed my laptop and gave her my full attention. "Rebuild what exactly?" "Our marriage, our lives. We can get past this." The audacity was breathtaking. After everything she'd done, every betrayal and manipulation, she still thought she could negotiate her way back to comfort and security. "Elena," I said gently, "do you remember what you told me that first night? When I caught you dressed up for Maxwell?" Her face flushed. "David, I was confused. You said it was just one night with your CEO. Just one night. Like it didn't matter. Like I didn't matter." I stood up and walked to our wall safe, entering the combination she didn't know I'd changed weeks ago. Inside were documents I'd been preparing for this moment. "You gambled everything on that one night," I continued, pulling out a thick folder. "Your marriage, your career, your reputation, your freedom, and you lost." The folder contained divorce papers, financial statements showing the transfer of her hidden assets to the Fraud Victims Foundation, and copies of every piece of evidence I'd gathered about her crimes. "The merger's over, Elena. Your company's finished. Your allies have turned on you. And your secrets are now public record." I handed her the divorce papers, watching her face crumble as she read the terms. No alimony. Her criminal activity voided our prenuptial agreement. No shared assets. Her hidden accounts were evidence of tax evasion and money laundering. No second chances. I was filing a restraining order to keep her away from me permanently. "You can't do this," she whispered. "I'm your wife. You were my wife. Now you're just another corporate criminal facing federal charges." Elena tried one last manipulation, tears streaming down her face as she begged for forgiveness, promised to change, swore she'd learned her lesson. But I'd heard these promises before, seen these tears during previous fights about smaller betrayals. They meant nothing. My phone rang. Jamie calling with an update on the federal investigation. Elena's recorded conversations had provided enough evidence to expand the probe into dozens of other executives and companies. She wouldn't just face charges for her own crimes. She'd become the key witness in the largest corporate corruption case in California history. "I have to take this," I told Elena, answering the call. "Dave, you need to see the news," Jamie said. "Maxwell just tried to flee the country. Got arrested at the airport with fake passports and $2 million in cash." I looked at Elena, who was still clutching the divorce papers, like they might change if she stared at them long enough. Interesting. I guess some people never learn. After I hung up, Elena made one final attempt at reconciliation. She offered to testify against Maxwell and Andre, to help the federal prosecutors, to do whatever it took to minimize her own sentence if I'd just give her another chance. "The thing is, Elena," I said, walking her to the door, "you're going to testify against them anyway, because that's what happens when criminals get caught. They turn on each other." I opened the door and gestured for her to leave. "Goodbye, Elena. Try not to take this personally. It's just business." She left without another word, shoulders shaking with sobs that might have moved me once upon a time. Now they were just the sound of consequences, finally catching up to someone who'd thought she was untouchable. I closed the door, engaged all the locks, and returned to my laptop. There were still loose ends to tie up, evidence to organize, and a new life to plan. Elena's empire was ash, but mine was just beginning. The merger was complete. Elena had lost everything, and I'd gained something more valuable than revenge. I'd gained my freedom. In the distance, I could hear sirens, probably heading to arrest another of Elena's former allies. The investigation would continue for months, unraveling years of corporate corruption and destroying dozens of careers. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had a future to build, and for the first time in years, it belonged entirely to me. The city lights twinkled beyond my windows, full of possibility and promise. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new chances to prove that the underdog sometimes wins after all. Elena had taught me that everything was a transaction, every relationship a merger of interests. She'd just never realized that in our particular merger, I held all the controlling shares. The deal was closed, the marriage was over, and David Harlan was finally free.